first rule of storytelling is don't follow the New York Times best-selling author. Thanks for that. Okay, anyway, here we go. Illegal. That's the name we're listening for as my husband James and I stand in a crowded hotel ballroom in Nanchang, China, about to meet our daughter for the first time. I never imagined that this part would be hard. But as more kids are arriving, the room's just getting louder and more chaotic, and I can't make out any of the names being called. It doesn't help that all of these kids have the same surname, derived from their orphanage location. In this case, Yiyang, a county in the mountains of eastern China. So the names coming at us are Ili Guo, Ili Ling, Ili Shi, Ili Shu, Ili Wei, and on in an endless wave that even my husband, who is Chinese and speaks Mandarin, is confused by. It's all a bit too much for my type A brain to process. We thought when we submitted our adoption paperwork over to China that we'd have a nice long runway before being matched for the child. About a year, they said. Plenty of time to install baby gates, cover the radiators, read through my mountain of parenting books and articles that I've accumulated because I'm a journalist and that's what we do. Well, for whatever reason, maybe because James's father was from the same region of China where Yiyang was located, they matched us with this baby, Ili Gur, and told us to prepare to start parenting in just 14 weeks. Like she was a custom sofa arriving ahead of schedule. Just get the room ready early, right? How hard can it be? Pretty hard, it turns out, including this scene in the ballroom where I can't seem to pick out my own child. Is that her in the pink jacket? I asked James. You ask me, who I gonna ask, he says, his standard comeback. I never realized just how perfect that and handy and perfectly annoying that response is until I became a mother. There's so much about the job that's confounding and unknowable. It's really the ultimate surrender Dorothy situation. And I'm no Dorothy, though I do really like little dogs and flashy shoes. But I'm also not built to fail, because I was part of a generation raised during Title IX and Roe v. Wade and the Mary Tyler Moore Show. My generation of women gets shit done. So, sorry, menopause brain here. Hold on a second. Oh, my generation of women gets shit done. Oh my goodness, okay, here we go. So anyway, maybe because we're trying to recognize each other. I'm grateful for the orphanage workers who step in and they take pity on us and they start calling the parents' names instead of the kids. That's when James jumps up because he thinks he hears something. So he rushes to the front to claim our child. And before I know it, he's back with her. And I have to put all my focus on her because she's an unhappy mess. She's screaming and sobbing and sweating like a hot yoga class under layers and layers of clothing, unnecessary clothing. So I try rocking her. She just squirms and sobs more. I hum a little, Nothing. I dangle snacks. Nothing. I reach for my massive diaper bag, and I fish out this adorable little stuffed caterpillar. And I hold it out because I'm sure it's going to do the trick. She recoils in horror and screams even louder. I just don't know kind of what to do. So at this point, I figure we're on our own. And it's a lot like, I'm thinking of my mother now and how many kids she had, 6 to be exact, and how we sometimes drove her up the wall, to use her words. She was also bipolar and maybe just perpetually postpartum. And I'm watching that was instructive but also unsettling. You always think you'll do better than your parents did. But you almost always think that before you have to try. Now that I had a screaming, inconsolable baby of my own, I kind of understood how that could drive you up the wall, how it could make you feel overwhelmed and inadequate. If my mother had still been alive, I could have told her then, I get it, Ma, I do. Some people would call that karma. By the way, I'm not exaggerating, and I'm not imagining it. We really do have the most unhappy baby in this ballroom. Like, over there, that baby seems fine with her parents, and over there, and over there. It's just us struggling, we're the worst. And now we have to go in front of this panel of suits, all men, sitting at a long table with their stern faces and their judgy eyes, waiting to ask us a bunch of questions to see if they think we're fit to be this kid's parents. Do you promise to love her? They ask. Will you take care of her and send her to a good college? I know the correct answers. Yes, yes, Harvard. But I'm still nervous because what if they ask about James's family history, the part where his parents fled this country during a civil war in the 1940s when his dad was part of the losing army giving ground to Mao Zedong's communist forces. His mother had told me how she'd had to reluctantly abandon her only child at the time, leaving the little girl with grandparents because the escape to Taiwan was far too dangerous. She told me how how that decision never stopped hurting, even after they were reunited decades later in a more politically hospitable China. That story, that family history, was one of the reasons we'd come to adopt in China. This notion, poetic notion almost, of taking a child from a land where one had been left behind. I knew that we could provide a loving, stable home for our foundling who'd been left outside a government office building in the middle of winter with just a cardboard box and a thin blanket to shelter her from the elements. And in doing that, I thought we'd be completing a circle of sorts, which was a lovely idea, but it didn't mean we'd be any good at being parents. You just can't know that kind of thing. So imagine my surprise when I hear a loud bam, bam, bam. And I look down at the table and I see one of the judgy suits wielding a literal rubber stamp. In any language, that means your adoption is approved. They think we're this kid's best option. I don't know why they think that. You ask me, who I gonna ask? But okay, so we head back upstairs in the hotel, and it hits me that I'm now the mother of a full-fledged toddler with a mind of her own and teeth to match. So how do I parent her? I start by removing the layers and layers of sweaty clothing, and I wipe her down with a cool face cloth. Then I put her into some fresh pajamas, and I feed her a bottle of milk. And when she's calmer, I lay her down on our bed, on her tummy. And James lies across from her, and their faces are just inches from each other. And he looks at her, and he smiles. She smiles back. My heart melts. And it melts a little more just a little while later when she reaches out with both arms and she invites me to pick her up. Me. I'm not trying to minimize anything about the adoption process or the trauma that comes from losing your mother, just minutes or hours or days into your existence. But even traumatized babies live in the moment. It's all about, what do I need and want right now? And right now, I'm realizing that it's not noisy ballrooms or scary stuffed caterpillars or learning on the fly that I need to protect her from. It's fear. That's the sneaky thing about parenting. You think you're shaping your kid's future, but you're also processing and reframing your own past. Long before I ever got to this Nanchang hotel, I worried that I wouldn't be enough for my child, that I couldn't nurture her or protect her the way that she deserved. I worried about this, but it didn't paralyze me, because sometimes, as a parent, you have to make your peace with the fact that you're just the cardboard box. Makeshift, insecure, and unstable, struggling to stand up to the elements. But also, sometimes, if we can let go of our fears and embrace our own resilience, we're the blanket. Thank you.